The theme of this week is Scilab. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir.
You, sir?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Uh, and first lecture, as always, for each theme, the opening batsman is our Dr. Piyush, sir. This time always, Piyush, sir is again the opening batsman, and first ball is going to go to the Piyush, sir. So I welcome Piyush, sir, and I am thankful to Piyush, sir, that you always be ready for start each and everything. He has so much knowledge in each and every area that he can take. Uh, so, Piyush, sir,
Yes.
now stage is yours,
Okay, sir.
and thank you for your kind cooperation and taking so much pain each time.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay.
Okay,
Good
okay, Piyush,
afternoon.
sir.
Good afternoon to all of you, all the participants. We are back again, and we are resuming our online faculty development program from today. And this is being our week 5, day 1 session. So I have planned this session because of the theme that today we have to start the theme on Scilab. So Scilab is a open source software, and let us discuss more about it. Is my voice clear to all of you? Is Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So let me just present my screen for you first. Okay. So today the topic that I have chosen is introduction to Scilab, a typical FOSSEE. So what is a FOSSEE? First of all, let's see. FOSSEE, as the term says, it's free and open source software for engineering education. Okay, so this is the full form for this FOSSEE, free and open source software for science and engineering education. The complete full form is this. So let's go ahead and look for the flow of presentation. So today's flow of presentation is as follows. We'll discuss first the FOSSEE, then Scilab as a FOSSEE. Then we'll discuss some of the features of Scilab, the installation requirements. Then we'll try to learn installing Scilab, and we'll have some hands-on practice on it, and we'll see what are the prerequisites for that. So let us begin with the first slide. So what is FOSSEE? So I told you that FOSS stands for free and open source software. Uh, it is for science and engineering education. So the term FOSSEE is being created from the term FOSS. There is another term known as the FLOSS. So what is FLOSS? FLOSS is nothing but free oblique Libra. It is seen as Libre but pronounced as Libra, which also literally means free. So whenever you have open source tools like you must have used LibreOffice, Libre PowerPoint, and Libre Excel, Libre spreadsheets, whatever. So these are basically coming from the same field or the same family of software, as you can say, uh, free and open source. Libre, open source, Libra, open source, same as. So it is a software that can be classified as both free software, it is a free software, and an open source software. So what is the difference between a free software and open source software? So basically free software is something that you can use for free. Users can use it. But when we talk about an open source software, then in an open source, you can copy the source code, you can change the source code, and you can modify the source code according to your needs. So there are various versions of this Scilab available on the internet, and there are so many versions because every education institution is trying to build up some or the other application that is based on this Scilab. So they are changing the source code to add some of their header files, to add some of their functions, to some keywords, and they are using this software as their own software for the purpose. Okay. So anyone is freely licensed to use, copy, study, and change the software in any way. And the source code is openly shared to that people, uh, so that people are encouraged to voluntarily improve the design of the software. So people are continuously improving the software. They're trying to modify the source code, and they are uh, building new applications on this software. Okay. So there are many other softwares available like that. So, but we are learning a tool that is uh, unlike that is similar to the working of MATLAB. I hope you must be knowing about MATLAB. So, MATLAB is Matrix Laboratory. It is a software for performing uh, numerical computation, and similarly we have Scilab, which is an open source software. So MATLAB, we require license that costs the institution about lakhs of rupees for even a single license, and that is why we have chosen Scilab as an open source tool to work similarly in the same fashion as we do in MATLAB. So any code that is written in MATLAB can be converted into Scilab, and so we do not and we do not require any subscription or any uh, licensing required for Scilab. Okay, so it is again used for scientific and numerical computation, and Scilab consists of hundreds of general purpose and specialized functions that can be used in mathematical and numerical computation. Okay. So some of the features of Scilab are Boolean. You can do Boolean algebra, Boolean calculations, uh, and you can work with integers, complex numbers, floating point integers, elementary and mathematical functions that includes trigonometric functions as well. Comments, you can put comments, you can put continuous lines. There are predefined mathematical variables like a tan, cot h, cos h, sin hm, etc. Uh, Variable names, we can use ASCII letters starting from small a to small z and capital A to capital Z, and digits from 0 to 9. These are some of the features of Scilab, which is similar to what MATLAB has. Okay. So the procedure to install Scilab on Windows OS. Getting ready for Scilab installation. To follow the installation process, you need to be connected to the internet. These are the minimum requirements. That you need a 2 GB RAM, uh, 1 GB is minimum. Approximately 600 MB hard disk space is required for the installation. Okay. So you can, if you wish to install ever Scilab, you can go to this link, www.scilab.org, and you can go to the downloads menu and locate the software versions. Click on Scilab 6.1.0. This one is the latest version of Scilab available. Latest version of Scilab 6.1.0. So under the Windows Vista 7, 8, 10 menu, select 32-bit or 62 bits. So based on your processor, if it's a 32-bit processor, you can download the 32-bit installation software, or if you have a 64-bit processor, then you can go for the 64-bit installation software. So once the download finish, go to the folder where you have downloaded the file, double click on the .exe file you just downloaded, When the Scilab installation wizard opens, keep the default settings as it is and click on the next button. Do the same on each prompt to continue the installation. Finally, click on the finish button to complete the installation. So installation is very simple. When you will download this file, it will be around 154 or maybe something around that. Nearly less than 200 MB. Less than 200 MB software, and when it expands, it takes up to 600 MB space on your hard disk. So after the installation is complete, locate the Scilab 6.1.0 shortcut created on desktop and double click on it. This will open the Scilab console. So we will have some windows open with us. Uh, what we'll have in this hands-on practice, in this tutorial, we shall be learning the use of Scilab as a calculator, store values in a variable, perform various mathematical operations using these variables, create a file to store commands executed during the session in the current working directory. Okay, define complex numbers, perform exponential and trigonometric operation on numbers. So all these things we'll be doing today. Uh, okay, so these are some prerequisites that are required for proceeding in this tutorial. Scilab should be installed. I am using Scilab 6.1.0 and Windows 10 OS for the demonstration purpose. So this is the flowchart that I have chosen for the today's session. We'll do some basic calculations, and these basic calculations we'll be doing with some diary command. I will show you what is a diary and what is the purpose of a diary. This is very important topic. And how to create variables on Scilab, and calculation with complex numbers, exponential functions, and pi. Pi, you know, 3.14 plus pi, the mathematical operator constant. So mathematical operations using variables. So these are some things that we'll be doing today. So let us begin. We will be typing some of these commands. So let me just open my Scilab. So once you double click on the Scilab, are you able to see this window where I have opened the Scilab? Can anybody tell me if he or she can see it? Is it visible? Okay, so let us see what we'll be doing. So once you open the Scilab, it will bring us to this view where we can see that there is a console, there is a working directory, current directory that is showing on this left hand side, and towards my right side there is command history, variable browser. All the variables will be accumulated here, and these are some few windows that are very important. The current directory window, console window, variable browser, command history. Okay, so we need to learn some of the basic commands. First of all, let us type very simple commands, 2 plus 2, and it is returning me 4. Are you able to see? This is the console where you will type all the commands. Okay, so let us type another command that we'll need to know, CLC. CLC, just like in if somebody has ever done programming in uh, C, then CLS, CLR, SCR command we use. That is to clear the screen. So here we are using CLC command. This one clears the console. So when we enter, the console gets cleared. Okay. So let us type some more commands. 42 plus just a moment. 4 into 4. is 64 by 4. So what will be the output of this program, of this code that we have written? That will be 42. So you can see here in the variable browser, earlier when we typed 2 plus 2 equals to 4, then the answer variable was created and it was containing 4 earlier. Now you see when we have typed this command, we have typed this, then the answer has changed its value to 42. And the default data type, just like MATLAB, is double here in Scilab also. So default data type is double, you can see here. Okay. Let us see some more commands here. Let us type assigning values to variables. So it is very simple. You just have to type a equal to 12, b equal to 21, c equal to 33, and you just press enter. So you have, if you see in the variable browser, you have now 3 more variables in which you can see that a is 12, b is 22, c is 33, and the same values have been printed here as we have pushed the enter button. Okay, so let us try some numerical computation. A simple numerical computation, a plus b plus c. So now the answer variable, you can see it is also updated with 66. The answer is 66. Okay, let us try something else. A into b plus c. Okay, and let us do one more thing. Let us try to assign a variable to a function based on a, b, and c. So let's do this. D equals to a plus b into c. 1089 is the solution, and this also gets stored in the variable d. Okay, and then let us do one more calculation here. Now we clear the screen here, and we let us see one more thing. If we wish to display all the values in the particular variable, so we just type a and it shows me the value of a. And if you want to see the values of all the variables, we just type a comma b comma c comma d, and it will give me the values of all the 4 variables. So a is 12, b is 21, c is 33, d is 1089. Okay, so let us just clear the console again. Now the next computation that we'll be doing is like calculating the powers. So let us calculate the power of 7 raised to the power 2. So this will give me 49. Okay, and if you have to calculate the square root of a particular number, then we have a command here for sqrt. And suppose 17 if we have to calculate, it will give me something around 4.12. Yes. So this is the way we calculate the square of a number and then the square root. So square is very simple. We use this symbol, caret symbol sometimes we call it, and this is available on the number 6. So you just have to type a number, say suppose 2 raised to the power, by clicking a shift key and the 6 key, we get this symbol, caret symbol, and we have to calculate 2 raised to the power 5. So it will give me 32. Okay, so let us see some more commands. Okay, let us clear the console here again. And now we are coming to another feature that we know that if we ever wish to find out with what is the current directory in which we are working, so we use this command pwd. Okay, pwd it can be considered as present working directory. Okay, so presently you are in which directory, this pwd will be able to tell you. So once you click on this pwd and you press enter, it will give you C drive user slash username slash documents. This is my current working directory. It is also available here. Okay. Okay. Oh, now the next thing that we have to study is creating a diary. Why do we need to create a diary? Because every time you're researching or you're typing some commands, they may not be as perfect in the very first time. So what you do, you try each day, you type commands each day, and to remember which commands you have already typed and where you need a change in the next day, so you need to create a diary entry. Okay, so diary means you are creating a file, a text file, in which all the commands that you'll be typing afterwards will be saved automatically, okay, on that text file. So to create a diary, we just type a command, say diary, and we simple in a single quote say my record dot txt and put the round brackets close and enter. So it will give me an answer equal to 1. That means the diary has created a file, uh, myrecord.txt, in the folder document, so which you can also see here. My record, see here, my record.txt file has been created in this documents folder. Okay, so this is one. When it is displaying 1, that means your record.txt file has been created. Now whatever command you will type in this console here onwards, it will automatically get stored in the this record.txt diary file. Okay, so diary command, we again just recall, diary command can be used to create a file in which all the commands that you will type will be stored. Okay, and it will be as a text file available for you. Okay, so let us type some more commands here. Let us go for complex numbers. I've calculated some, yes. So let us see how we write complex numbers. 5.2 m percent. This symbol is percent symbol, and we call it m percent, and it is available on the number 5. So we press the shift key and the number 5. So we get this 5.2, and we write percent %i. That means it is a complex number, and when we press enter, syntax error. Wait, let me just check what happened. 5% I. Okay, it is not working like this on this. Now let me just type simply 5i. This version there is some change, maybe because I have not used this version earlier. Complex number. So you can always take a help file. We are using a live help file just to see how we type a complex number. The system is slow. Yes. It was great. Person Z. Maybe this version this is creating some problem. Okay, let me just type like this: 0 plus 5.2 sorry, 5.2% I. No. Okay. It is not working. So maybe there is some issue with this version of software, or maybe some error may have been occurred while installing. So it would have given us an output of this fashion. Uh, if we have typed this in the complex numbers, it would have given us 5.2 I complete. And I don't know what is wrong with this particular section. Maybe there is some missing files or something like that. Let us try some more examples. Okay, let me just, yes. Now where is the problem? So coming back to where we have left, 5.2, I missed the symbols asterisk there. So 5.2 asterisk m% I. Okay, so this will give me 5.2 I. Now you got it 0 plus 5.2 I. So I was making a mistake here. I thought I was writing correct. So let me just clear the console for you again and just write where we have gone wrong. So 5.2, we have missed the symbol asterisk and %I. So this is the right format for entering a complex number. So this is how you get 0 plus 5.2 I. Are you getting my point, all of you? So let us try another calculation here. We are multiplying 10 plus, let me see what was the number, 10 plus 5 into I. 10 plus 5 multiplication %I multiplying by the number star %2, sorry, 2 star %I. 2 star %I. So this will give me minus 10 plus 20i. So let us see how we have got this. So let me come back to this. Current slide. So what we have seen, we have this number 10 plus 5i, and we are multiplying it with another complex number 2i. So this complex multiplication, it is there. So 10 into 2i plus 5i into 2i. So 20i plus 10i square. And what is the value of I square? It is minus 1. So minus 10 plus 20i. This is how we'll get minus 10 plus 20i. So that is why we are getting this answer as minus 10 plus 20i. So you see, Scilab is a very typical language where you have to be very sure what you're typing. Even a slightest mistake can bring problems in your program. Okay, so yes, so this is why we are getting minus 10 plus 20i. Okay, let us do some more calculations. Let us calculate pi. Okay, so clear the console. We type %pi. So pi value is being printed 3.1415927. This is the value of pi. And let us try to calculate sine. and percent pi by 2 is the value of sine 90. It is 1. Okay, let us try to calculate cos 90. Cos percent pi divided by 2. So it will not be 0. Okay. Why? Because it is this values of these are values taken in the radians. Okay, and so it is giving us this value. It is not giving us 0, but it is nearly 0. If you see 6.123 d minus 17 means 6.123 into 10 to the power minus 17, so almost 0. Okay, but since the values are in radians, so it is giving us some value. Okay, but for all practical purposes we are using 0 as the value. Let us find the next. Yes, what is the machine epsilon? So we calculate the value machine epsilon by percent EPS. Percent EPS is the value that is going to be calculated. Machine epsilon is basically, it is the minimum digit resolution that Scilab can give. So it is the minimum digit resolution that the Scilab can get. Okay, can give us. So after you click, you get 2.22 into 10 to the power minus 16. So D represents decimal 10. Okay, D minus 16. So let's move ahead. If you wish to write 0.00456, there are a few ways in which you can write. We are using this 4.56 B minus 4. This is also one way. Or you can write 4.56 E minus 4. Both the ways you can say that it is 10 raised to the power minus 4, and it is going to give you 0.000456. Let us see some more mathematical computation. So the base of natural logarithm. So we calculate the value of E. If you just write E, percent E. When you write percent in front of a particular in front of a some letter, and it will give us the basically the inbuilt functions. So percent is always required when you're writing inbuilt function. Just like in when we were using pi, so we use percent pi. So the console identifies that pi is a function. It has some numerical value. It is a constant, and it is stored in somewhere in the uh, head in the files in the in the program files of this software. So it defines the percent will determine the inbuilt functions. So you write percent E and you press enter, you will find this value of E as 2.718281. Okay, it is just like calculating exp. In bracket you write 1, you get the same value. Okay, suppose you want to find E raised to the power 2. Okay, sorry, percent E, I forgot, and this is to be remembered always. Percent E raised to the power 2. So you get 7.3890561. Okay, now you simply write exp. In brackets you write 2, it will give you same results, 7.3890561. So this is how we bring about numerical calculations. We can do a lot of things here. If we suppose if you want to calculate, see, suppose length is 20, breadth is 40, you want to find the area. So let us find area equal to L into B. So you get area is 800 square units, whatever those units be. This is how we can bring about mathematical calculations. All sorts of calculations can be done, uh, and you will be given assignments based on these Scilab computation. This will be your first assignment, so make sure that you remember all these commands. So let us, just one moment. So after you have completed, suppose your day has been completed, whatever commands that you needed to type, you want to close your diary entry now, you want to close your file. So what you will do, you will type diary, and in brackets you will type 0, round brackets, and you press enter. Once you press enter, your diary entry will get closed. So whatever commands you have typed uh, in this diary, myrecord.txt, that will be available now. That will be stored, and now the diary entry is closed. So whatever now you will type, it will not be going into the directory, into the file. So you can always see this file by file. Control O is the shortcut for opening a file. You can open a file. You can go into the documents in the current directory, C drive. We choose all files here. When we choose all file, we find our file myrecord.txt. Just open it. So this is how where we were going wrong in the beginning, because we were not typing the commands correctly, and afterwards when we got correct commands, yes, from here onwards all these entries are saved in this text file. You can see all these commands there that we have used. So this is how you type. You open a diary, you open a command, you open a file using a command called diary, and you close the diary entry. See, last command is diary 0. So after this, the diary is closed. Now, if you type anything, it will not be stored in this myrecord.txt. Okay. So let us close it for a while, and let us do something else. Anything else? No. So let us get back to our presentation where we left. Okay, so from current slide. So we have seen how to write complex numbers. We have seen how we are working with pi function. We can see by putting a %pi, we can use the pi function. Then sine pi by 2, we have calculated it as 1. Then cos pi by 2, it was something 6.2, 10 raised to the power minus 17, so nearly 0. Then machine epsilon, we have also checked %EPS, minimum digit resolution that Scilab can give. Then we have seen how we can write floating point numbers in different ways. We can directly use 0.00456, or we can use alternative methods like we put 4.56, d minus 4, or e minus 4. So these commands we have seen. Another important predefined numerical constant is %e, the base of natural logarithm. So this is also we have seen exponent 1, e raised to the power 2, exponent 2. Okay, logarithm function we haven't done. Log 10, 1 e to the power minus 23. So if you type this log base 10, 1 into 10 to the power minus 23, so what it will give me? Minus 23. So let us just try this one again on the machine, okay, on the Scilab. So let us type log 10 in brackets 1 into e minus 23. %e again. Where we went wrong? Let's see. Okay, so we do not write into e. The asterisk symbol we do not have to write. We just have to write 1e minus 23. So 1e minus 23 means 1 into 10 to the power minus 23. So this will give me minus 23 as the answer. Okay. So let us come back again. Yes, after this we have done one more thing. We have closed the diary entry, and this is your first assignment, week 5, day 1 assignment, question 1. This will be posted on Saturday, and in response you will have to calculate, you will have to share the screenshots. Once you have calculated this on Scilab, you have to share the screenshots of all these three. You have to calculate the value of phi, then psi, then 1 upon phi, and then 1 upon psi. So this will be your first question for Saturday, and you'll have to be ready with screenshots. Once you do it, you can share your screenshots in a PDF, and that PDF file you have to upload. Okay. So let us understand some key points that we need to remember. So while a program is being developed, one experiments a lot before arriving a suitable code. So therefore, there is a need of diary. Okay, so diary command helps to keep a track of all the transactions. So you can create different files. You can create different diary entries. Say if you are writing a code on Monday, you say Monday, 10th May 2021, and you can create .txt file and so on. You can close the diary entry for Monday and then for Tuesday and for so on. So no transactions will be saved after the command diary 0. So when you type diary 0, this command will no longer record the transactions on the text file. Okay. If we need to save the session once again, issue the diary command again. So you have to issue the diary command again. Diary command will override the file if same file name is used. Okay, if you use the same file name myrecord.txt again, then it will overwrite. It will not start writing from below, but it will overwrite. Okay. So all the previous commands will be deleted. No fresh command will be saved in the .txt file. So let us display this also. Let us see the last command that we have run. The last command that we have run on this Scilab, that is log10 1e minus 23. So let us check the diary entry. We click on file, open a file, and we browse for all files in the browser for file myrecord.txt. So once you open it, you can see at the end where diary 0 has been written. After that, no further command has been recorded from the console. So your diary entry has been closed after you type diary 0. Okay. This is an important feature. And if you want to create another diary, you will have to write another file name, or else it will override the existing file. Okay, so this should be clear. So let us come back again on current slide. Yes. So override the file. Yes, we have discussed this. Let's move ahead. And this is another assignment for you. This will be your question 2. And you have to verify Euler's identity e to the power pi I plus 1 equals to 0. So whether it is equal to 0 or not, this is the question. And if not, then why not exactly 0? And this one is your question 3. Okay, what is the value of cos pi plus I sin pi plus 1? Okay, so you have to share screenshots from your laptop. Once you have installed Scilab on your laptop or a computer, then you can try out these problems and try out these numerical calculations that we have done today. And these are your home assignments. You'll have to save these screenshots, and once we'll post the assignment on Saturday or on Friday, then you will have to submit the screenshots in a file, in a PDF file. Okay. Yes, just like we needed help, how I came to the conclusion that I need to put an asterisk mark before I write %i to write a complex number is by using the help command. So you can always use help clean or help name of the command. Say if you need help about any command. Okay, so let us check this also again. So you write help, you write chdir. So it will give me the help directory, will give me directly the help command for chdir. It changes the Scilab current directory. So chdir is basically acronym for change directory. Okay, so you can change the directory in which the browser is currently working. So this is my current working directory. When we type pwd, we can see that. And once you write help chdir, so it will give all the help file related to your changing directory. Okay, so let us see some more help file. Help %i. Okay, %i imaginary unit. So you got it. I was not seeing this asterisk while I was typing. When I saw the help file, I found where I was making the mistake. Okay, so this is how you reach the conclusion. You can take help from any. You can just, when you are typing a command or maybe an inbuilt function, maybe you need some help. Maybe it is giving some error. Then you can just type help and then the command name, and it will directly go to that particular section in the help file. Okay, and you can see the related examples. You can see how complex numbers can be created. Okay, and everything, every information is available on the help file. Okay, so this is how you use your help command. It gives the detailed help about a particular command. Okay? Up and down arrow keys to navigate through the past commands. Up arrow key after typing the letter E on command prompt, navigate through the command starting with E. So let us check this also. So if we type E and we click the up arrow button, so it will give me all the commands that I have used with the letter E. Okay, up arrow and down arrow, you can change. You can see all these commands that I have used in the past in the command history. From the command history, all these commands, %e, exp1, e, you can see here, %e and all these. Okay, if we write some other letters, say diary, or diary, let's type D, and we click on the up arrow button, it will give me all commands that I have written with the letter D. So I have written 3 statements with the letter D equal to A plus B into C, diary, and diary 0. Okay, this is how you use this. Tab key to autocomplete. So if you need to autocomplete your commands that you need to type, any function name, variable name, you just have to click the tab key. You just type some few letters that you remember, say suppose HE, and if you press the tab, it will give you some suggestions like help, or help or something command, or maybe some function name, maybe some variable name. Okay, so all it will just to me, you need to tap the tab key and it will auto complete the command for you. So this is basically an IDE, integrated development environment, where you can it is an open source IDE where you can program, you can type your programs, you can correct your programs, and this will auto correct your functions also. It has an inbuilt compiler. It will give you errors whenever you typed, maybe that was a syntax error that I was creating, and it has given me an error. So this is how you get error warnings messages through IDE, and you can always correct your program whatever you are doing typing. So let us come to the reflection of this tutorial. In this tutorial, we have learned to use the Scilab as a calculator, and we have seen the result that is stored in the default variable answer, ANS. ANS is the default variable in which the result is being stored. and then assign values to variables using the equality sign, that is equal symbol, a equal to 12, b equal to 21, and so on, that we have used, c equal to 33. So we have also done this. Check values in variables by typing the names of the variables separated by commas on the console. So a comma b comma c comma d we have used to display all the values stored in these variables. Then check the current working directory using the pwd command or the present working directory. Present working directory. Okay. And we have seen using the diary command to save all commands typed on the console into a file, which was myrecord.txt. This is the file that we have used. Define complex numbers, natural exponents, and pi using %i, %e, and %pi respectively. And we have seen use of the help command for detailed information about any command. All these we have done this presentation. I would like to acknowledge this tutorial that has been created by the free and open source software in science and engineering education. For more information on the FOSSEE project, it could be obtained from http://fossee.in and http://scilab.in. Supported by the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Imperial University, Lucknow. Thank you for this patient learning and listening. If you have any queries, you can put up right now.
Sir, if you have any query, then ask Dr. Kushal. Thank you, sir. Thanks for nice and informative lecture.
Thank you, sir. Any queries from any participant?
There is any query? Query and everything is clear.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks to the participant for patient listening. Hopefully, we'll meet tomorrow by 11 a.m. Thank you. Thanks a lot.